Welcome to the Disruption Lab. Ever since I met these two guys, and I remember it was at a speakeasy in Martin City was the first time I met these two cats.
Oh, I forgot about it.
Yeah, right? See? Ever since I met these two guys, I've been dying to get them up here. I've had the opportunity to work alongside them in the Social Venture Studio as cohort members in cohort 2. And so I got to know them through that process as well. And watching their evolution and watching some of the things that they've been able to do over the last few years has just been, it's been really fun to watch. But in talking to them and getting to know them and getting to know their stories and their perspectives on what they do, why they do it here, I think when I think of what this podcast stands for, the people who are changing industries, the people who are blazing new paths in entrepreneurship, these two guys are kind of at the top of the list in so many ways. So welcome, gentlemen, to the Disruption Lab. I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I typically don't do introductions because I usually screw them up somehow. So if you guys quickly could just let folks know who you are and what your roles are, and then we'll dive into this. So start with you, Khalid.
My name is Khalid Abdulqaadir. Y'all missing the best show, by the way. Hey, excuse me, everybody by the door, y'all missing the best show.
They're networking. Man.
Show is, look
They're
at
that. Networking.
My name is Khalid Abdulqaadir. I'm a Navy veteran, worked for the government for a while. I actually used to work under Miss Tidwell when she was a regional administrator at HUD. I was her executive assistant. So a lot of stuff I know about the city, I actually learned from her. That's about it.
That's cool. I'm Corey McCartney, AGA Productions. I'm primarily the producer and the unit production manager. So, and if people don't know the industry, I usually compare this to the construction industry. So if you're like a home builder, I'm primarily the general contractor and the on-site foreman.
Does that make him the architect? Or the...
Yeah, I draw the blueprints.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. Fantastic. So in a nutshell, you guys make movies, right?
Yes.
That's what we do.
You do it with a purpose,
yeah.
Right? So tell me about that. Like when I met you guys, AGA Productions is, you guys make films, but there is more behind it than just making the art and making the films. So tell me a little bit about why you're different than some of maybe the other folks that are out there making movies and making film.
Well, in essence, the thing is that everybody interacts with film. All these folks who are up here, they're in different industries. Everybody's got different interests, but when most folks go home, they're going to watch a movie, they're going to engage with some kind of media content. And so we use filmmaking as like an incentive, something to attract people to the table, and then we can have a community impact through that attraction. So for example, and this is a saying from Malcolm X, once said that the most segregated place in America is a church on a Sunday morning. Well, conversely to that, the most unified place in America is a movie theater on a Saturday night. So you go to a movie on Saturday night, you're going to be in there with people who have different political ideology, different religious background, different age groups, et cetera, et cetera. It spans the entire demographic. And so we use the allure of filmmaking to attract people to the table. And then once they're all in the same space, then we can have a community impact with the people that are there.
So the main difference is our approach methodology. The way we get a movie made is our approach to the community, which is different than any other filmmaker.
Okay, tell me about that. Like how so?
So we have a process to engage the community that's basically rooted in asset-based community development. So if we can identify, beacons in the community and see how those beacons can affect the rest of the community aside it, then we can approach those individuals and figure out what they're good at and get them involved in the film, behind the camera, in front of the camera, somewhere on it. And they're more than willing to do it because of the magic of the movies.
Now, it's not just the way you engage the community to make the film. The actors, the people who work on the film, you're really looking for people in the community to be a part of that process, but it's also the content matter. Like I know when we were going through Social Venture Studio, there was this, I don't want to say a revelation because you guys have been doing this for a while, but there was this identification of the history of movies that have transformed society, right? And so it's not just the process that you use to engage community and to create that inclusive community asset-based development, but the content itself typically speaks to a purpose or a potentially transformative topic, right?
That's right. Yeah, we usually have some kind of social commentary in our films, and so we still try to make entertainment, but we still want to have a conversation with the community about some type of issue.
How do you balance that? So AGA, that's an acronym. So tell me what AGA stands for, and how do you balance that with the social commentary piece of what you're trying to do? So what's AGA stand for?
Ars Gratia Artis.
Tell me what that means.
It means art for art's sake. It's Latin. And, if you think about it, art is how we as human beings, how we engage ourselves. It's how we express ourselves to other human beings. And it's how we create empathy amongst each other. Like, I could tell you my backstory and you could empathize with my story. But I can make a movie, a cartoon about an ant. And 30 minutes into the movie, you've completely forgotten about yourself because you're actually embodying this ant that you're looking at. And you're going through this ant's trials and tribulations. And it's like the ultimate level of empathy. And this is what art does. And film, in my opinion, is like the most powerful medium to do that in.
Now I want to go home and watch A Bug's Life. Thanks for that. I appreciate it, man.
It's a movie.
It is. It is.
But
but how do you
along
balance
the
that?
same
Yeah,
lights,
yeah.
well, AGA, art for art's sake in Latin, Ars Gratia Artis, to me, that's always meant we're going to turn the camera on no matter what and have our impact, right? So whether we're funded, we'll have an impact. If we're not funded, I still have my camera and we can have the impact. So art for art's sake, we're going to create no matter what.
And it's not necessarily you create it for yourself in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily, you're not necessarily creating it for mass appeal or for the audience. It's for the art. It's for the creation.
Yeah. So, to me, if you're talking about balance, there is no balance. There's just focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you guys get into this? I mean, when I heard you in your intro, Khalid, you're not a film.
Deep do you want to go? Yeah. But I think starting around 2018 is where we should start. Yeah.
Now, this is when you guys met.
No, we actually went to high school together.
Okay. All right.
We went to high school together, but we hadn't seen each other in like 10, 12 years or something. I was overseas. He was in California. And then we both ended up back in Kansas City at the same time. And I put a post out on Facebook that I wanted to make a movie. He had spent the last decade in LA dabbling in film, and we knew each other from high school. So he reached out to me, and that's how we linked up.
How many films you guys made together?
I don't even know.
At least, I don't know, at least
Between
30
client work
maybe.
too is.
Well, including client work.
Yeah,
maybe,
client work,
maybe
shorts, the whole, you guys.
50, 60,
Wow.
More.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably around
100.
All right, so I had the esteemed pleasure of being at the world premiere of My Sharia Moore on Friday. I don't know if anybody else got the chance to see the film on Friday, but was there Friday night and got to be a part. You guys sold out 2 theaters at B&B Theater downtown. What's that like to do that in your community, to do that here in Kansas City? What was that?
It was great because, we're so used to like just swinging in the dark where, there is no support. There's nothing, you know what I mean? Like he said, it's just us with our camera. But that was actually the first time where I saw the entire community really rally and support us. You know what I mean? So it's just a process. It was amazing. It was, in my opinion, it was one of the best experiences I've had in my entire film career.
It was by design. I told him immediately what was going to happen, and he didn't believe me.
I thought it was going to be about 40 people there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm keeping my expectations.
Sure, I get that. I get that. I
saying?
want to temper expectations, but
Yeah.
The amount of support you guys have in the community, the amount of people that you've touched here in Kansas City in terms of the work you do, I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, I got to lay on
No,
Corey on
that's
this
okay.
one, man. You just threw out the invite. I was.
No, it was more than that though. It was. It was by design. Like it's a combination of a lot of things that you talk about in here, which is marketing, the use of AI, timing on when we're releasing certain things on social media and what those things are saying, which we're, relying on AI too. So, a lot of the marketing plan, and it's about prompts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
we
can
put a
call
lot of
these
work
things
into making it
sometimes.
happen,
Yeah.
for sure. But people did show up. So we ended up having about 253 people show up. We had to pull out fold-out chairs in the theater to have enough seats for everybody. So
And it's groundwork,
Yeah.
like over the years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the community development piece of
Yeah.
what you've done can't be underestimated in terms of stuff like that. What's the and I'll be for each of you, what's the piece of art that you have made together that you most cherish, that you most like, that you think is that that you're proudest of, and or that you're most
Man, it's tough, dude.
yeah.
I haven't even thought
It's like,
about
which
that.
of your kids do you love the most? Is that what I just asked? Yeah. Which one do you tell us on camera? Which of
you
your
know,
kids
you
you
know,
love the
you know
most?
what my answer is?
What's that?
The next one.
Yeah.
Oh. That seemed like a marketing answer a little
Mhm.
bit, though. Come on.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's the one. The next one, man.
I mean, if I talk about it from like an artistic standpoint, I would say Sapiens, which was like a superhero thing that we did, where the superheroes, their superpowers are manifested through their artistic ability. And there's a whole community strategy behind that. But if I talk about strategically, I would say Disarmed, which is a project we did with KCPD.
Yeah.
We had the SWAT team, 2 black men in 2020 when the rest of the country was tearing each other apart. We walked into the police station in the headquarters, demanded a meeting with the police chief, got it, and then told him that we needed the SWAT team to shoot a rap video. And you should have seen how these folks' head just fell off their shoulders. But we picked their head back up and put it back on their shoulders and told them what we wanted to do again. And then we just kept going with it. And then they ended up doing it. The only other person I know who's taken control of an actual SWAT team for any kind of video work is Michael Bay and me. So,
That's pretty elite company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a heck of an experience. But the reason why that's my strategic favorite is because of the impact that it had. You know what I mean? We set out to use filmmaking in that aspect to impact gun violence. And so we worked with KCPD to get a bead on different areas of the city that were having issues with each other. We engaged the OGs of those communities, the older gentlemen, if for anybody. And yeah, the OGs, right? And we were able to bring different groups of people from these neighborhoods to come work together on this film project. And a few months after we released the video, 2 individuals from two of those different areas came across each other on the street. And if you look up the statistics in Kansas City for gun violence, it's African-American males, handguns, because of an argument. And we had 2 African-American men, both with handguns, have an argument, pull their guns out, and then diffuse their potentially violent gun crime because they recognize each other from our film set. So when I go and I talk to the mayor, I say, hey, I know you got a lot of organizations that are doing this and that. There's a lot of stage performances, people getting grant money and everything, good for them. But nobody has that statistic, that we saved 2 lives and we reduced the murder rate using film. And you'll be surprised how many people we tell that to and they don't care.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is because, it's very hard to replicate that, to just do that over and over and over. So you're like, well, where's the data? Well, the data is the approach that we use. It was an experiment, but it was the scientific method. We had an hypothesis. We had, the people that we're bringing together and the type of outcome we could expect. And then it happened.
Yeah. So give us the money and let us scale it up. You know what I mean? But it's not gonna happen because we're not frying chicken or having a brick and mortar building or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
well,
got
let's
to fry
talk.
some chicken around here.
Well, let's talk. I gotten that feedback before.
Yeah.
More fried chicken at sessions. Why? So let's talk about that scaling piece, and let's talk a little bit more about the work you guys are doing outside of your own film, because to me, that is the legacy impact that you guys could have is some of the other things that you're working on that are tangential to the actual production of these movies or of these films. So you guys did some of the legwork, a lot of the legwork in the film tax credit work in the state of Missouri. So tell me about that. Like, what is that, first of all, for those who aren't familiar with what that is, what that means, what that could mean for the state and for the region. So give me a little background on that, and then I want to talk about that process a little bit.
So immediately we needed a tax credit as soon as we decided we were a film company. And then the first meeting we had was a private meeting, but I'll go ahead and say his name, Martin T. Rucker. He was running for office around here sometime. I knew him at Mizzou. And he told me then, like, we were five years away. And then we also had private meetings with Ashley Bland Manlove about the credit. We also had meetings with Mike Johnson about the credit. Not only do we need the credit passed, but it needed to have certain language, and that's what our meetings were about. And we spent the last 5 years having these meetings, largely being ignored when it came to certain language.
And this tax credit is something that a state uses to attract the entertainment industry to produce their films, to shoot their movies, their TV series, whatever it might be in that state, because then they get financial benefit from doing that in the form of a tax credit back on that film. Now, but the tax credit works differently than some other tax credits might work in terms of when and how it gets administered, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct. If you didn't know, you all are paying for any movie that's shot in the state because they're using your tax dollars. There's 38 states in the United States that have a film tax incentive. And what the film tax incentive does is it guarantees a certain percentage of rebate back to a production company that agrees to spend that money inside the state. So Missouri has actually one of the highest ones in the country. It's up to 42%. The baseline is 25, and then you get these bumps if you achieve, certain auxiliary objectives. And the way the bill is written at the moment, it actually incentivizes film production in predominantly white communities 3 times and doesn't incentivize film production in any other community explicitly at all. And so that was the thing that we were drawing major issue with when we handed our money to the lobbyists who helped lobby to get the bill passed. We were like, okay, we're part of the political organization that's putting money up into the lobbyist's pocket to go get this bill passed, and because we're putting money into it, we need to make sure that our interest is also met. But what ended up happening was they took our money, they paid the lobbyists, they didn't include our interest, and then they got the bill passed in a manner that suits their communities. You know what I mean? So, and you're paying for it.
What's the show called again?
Disruption
Okay,
Lab.
that's-
Come on.
Oh yeah,
There's a reason
I
we're here.
read the title. I said, hey,
There's a reason we're here.
yeah, all the people left. They missing the best one.
No, we're here. We are always.
We know. We see y'all. We see y'all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, since the day. Since the day these doors have opened, this has always been a place where we want to talk truth and we want to be able to talk about the real things and the real issues.
Yeah.
So,
And the folks I named were trying to help. Just so y'all know.
So the language that you were talking about that needed to be in there specifically, give me some. I understand the context of what you've laid out, Khalid, but give me what's missing that would have codified, that would have made that commitment to those communities possible.
So, for example, you get an additional 15% on the back end of your rebate if one of your main production offices is in a county.
That's 2%. It's 2%. But yeah.
Okay. You get an additional percentage on the rebate if your main production office is in a county that's classified as county 2, 3, or 4. Well, the only counties that are classified as 1s are like where Kansas City is mainly, where St. Louis is, and then where Colombia is. Well, those are also the areas where the most diverse populations are. So if you take your production office into a county that's predominantly white, you just get extra money automatically. So we wanted one of those incentive bumps, one of those 5%, 2%, what have you, to be reserved for meeting minority and women participation goals.
Mhm.
That's what we were asking for.
And there's also a 5% bump that you can get for being in a rural and/or blighted community.
Mhm.
And so,
And that language did not end up in the final bill.
no, it's in there.
It's in there. Okay.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah,
there.
but blight is very ambiguous. If you look up the legal definition in the state of Missouri of blight, it could be moral blight. You could say Lee Summit is blighted. You know what I'm saying? It's very ambiguous.
Oh, I do.
But rural is very specific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So again, it's nonsense, but we're used to it.
So that's a great segue to my next question. It's for you, Khalid, about being used to some of these things. You have an interesting background. Before
Yes.
you got into making films, you were talking about being overseas.
Yes.
You weren't working on a cruise ship. You weren't overseas working on a cruise ship.
No, I wasn't tap dancing.
So tell me a little bit, let's get into this a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your background. And you've made, I think, 2 autobiography pieces.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I mentioned I used to work for Miss Tidwell when she was regional administrator at HUD. I was her executive assistant. I left her office and I got into a program. It's called a National Security Education Program, NSCP. It's a program that's administered by the Department of Defense and the State Department. It sends selected individuals to countries that are considered strategically important to U.S. national security and countries that we don't know a lot about. You go there, you learn the language, you learn about the culture, and you produce these things called country reports that our government then uses to decide how they're going to deal with these countries and so on and so forth. So I went to Kazakhstan, and my goal was to learn how to speak Russian and experience that situation. And, сейчас я немного говорю по-русски. Я учусь русский язык только 6 месяцев. I speak my Russian. And when I came back from that, I then went on to work for the National Security Agency and the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the defensive apparatus of the CIA.
And now that was the inspiration for not just the movie you made or the films you made about yourself or some of your background, but also some of the topics that you've covered in some of the other films that you've done.
Absolutely, yeah, because, the intelligence community and, the spy world and espionage, just use your imagination. You've seen enough movies. But it has a way to impact people's minds, the way they think. Anybody watch the new Maverick Top Gun movie? Tom Cruise? No? These two did? These only 2? Okay, well, they've been indoctrinated, right? Because, no, I didn't watch it. Because the CIA consulted on that script to put certain things in there and so on and so forth.
Market research.
Yeah, market research. But a lot of those techniques that they use to, get a certain idea across, we use those things in reverse to break down barriers in the community. So this approach that we did with KCPD that resulted in the reduction of gun violence, that was some strategic operation stuff that I learned through my previous profession, because you can use it in a positive manner versus a destructive.
I mean, PSYOPs has been a thing forever and a day, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you even look at propaganda films that have been created in the past. This was kind of what we were alluding to earlier.
Exactly.
Birth of a Nation, Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about Reefer Madness. I still think that's one of the things that has torn apart this nation. But these things were created with the intent of pushing a message. They weren't necessarily, that wasn't art. That was purely propaganda.
It was designed to encourage behavior, right? And And it doesn't always have to be intentional. I remember the first time I watched a Fast and the Furious movie, the first one, in the movie theater. As soon as I stepped out of the movie theater, everybody in the parking lot was peeling out, going where they were going. They have to go back into films and cut out scenes where the kids lay down on highways and stuff because kids go out and do it. So the suggestive thinking is inherent in filmmaking, be it intentional or not.
It's just hard to quantify, and that's the biggest problem. Yeah. It's hard to get the data on those things, but everybody knows it's happening.
Well, you gave me a data point at one point when we were working on pitch stuff that I thought was hilarious. It was Bambi.
The coldest propaganda film ever made.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian says that Bambi is the single greatest piece of anti-hunting propaganda of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time.
That film devastated the hunting industry in the United States for over a decade. And you know how much we like to hunt, and we like our flower print or leaf print, camo, There you go. Exactly, right?
And it's before you never saw the dead deer. Now you see them on the highway.
Yeah. Seriously.
I'm still traumatized by Bambi's mother dying. It was terrible. So, but yeah, it does happen. It does happen now. But you guys are trying to reverse that. When you say intentionality is a big thing, but then also there's a positive and negative aspect of how this can be manifested. Yeah. You guys are using that to try to reset maybe people's minds about the way things are from a different perspective, right?
Well, the first thing we do differently is we tell everybody exactly what our intention is. So we have a strategic process to have a specific outcome based on the mechanism of the film. And I can put it up on the screen and explain it to everybody and then go out and shoot the movie. So it's not a secret, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's designed to, like I said earlier, bring people into close proximity with each other. When people come into close proximity with each other, they tend to develop a relationship. And when they develop a relationship, they become less inclined to conflict. Mm-hmm. It's conflict resolution, like one-on-one.
Yeah, those are known principles within psychology of how relationships are formed and how bonds are created.
And it's asset-based community development, and it's workforce development.
Yeah.
And it's tech. And it's AI.
And it's art. And it's STEM.
STEAM now.
Oh, with the A in there now.
STEAM. And I gotta give props to someone. So before I met you gentlemen, I met Pat Jordan, who was
we know Pat, we love Pat.
Instrumental in telling me about some of these things as well, and helping me understand the impact that these things can have in the community. Let's talk about Kansas City, right? So from your perspective, having worked with people outside of Kansas City, having worked in LA, having worked with people who are producing movies in other communities, what do we need to do in Kansas City to realize the potential for filmmaking and for all the things, Corey, that you were just laying out? It's workforce development, it's asset-based community development, it's technology, it's kind of this the opportunity to be innovative. And you look at the types of movies that are being made. I mean, there's so many roles and so many, futuristic opportunities for people to get engaged and develop careers out of that. What's Kansas City missing? We just went through this exercise in the last presentation about gaps. What's Kansas City missing, and what are you guys setting out to do to make that a reality?
Every time we have to work with someone outside of Kansas City, it's cool, and then we have an impact, but it's not fun. It's not.
They're either a snake. They're either a snake, a shark, or a weasel.
Or a weasel.
It's one of the three.
Snakes, sharks, and weasels. Yeah.
That's all we deal with. No Bambi.
Just making sure we don't have no snakes, sharks, or weasels up there. Okay, cool. We're good.
Snakes, sharks, and weasels.
But I think Kansas City is in like a parable of the cave moment. You know what I mean? Where people are watching shadows on the wall, and that's just that's the way things have been. And
so we're talking about funding.
Yeah.
Every time we get funding for something that's having an impact here, it's coming from outside the city.
I think there are many of us in many categories that run into that. So you just heard the story on stage right before you guys got up here. I can tell you about, so many places that's true in the city.
Well, but everybody's watching film and TV. And so that's where it's like, if you want to have an impact with what you're doing every single day in your own city, then do it. It's possible. Yeah.
Now, what things? So let's dive. To me, and I'm with all due respect, I love you guys, you know that, but like money's the easy answer here. Like money's always the easy answer. What do we need? We need money. We need funding. But what's that funding provide that this region is missing? You know, we talked about like infrastructure. Like there's certain reasons that people won't make movies here because there's just like we don't have soundstage. We don't have, you know, the type of infrastructure that would be necessary. We don't have the amount of
a 20,000
talent schools.
A 20,000 square foot soundstage in Kansas City would be helpful, right? So like 50 Cent, for example, has 3 of those sound stages in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he's completely transformed the town. And he had a festival down there associated with that studio and eradicated violence for 16 days straight because everybody was in it, in the magic. And it's the allure, it's the cultural impact that this has. So if it needs to be a structure that we get behind, then it's a structure. Okay. And then we center around that. One like 50 cents would be great. They're like $5 million each.
Any takers?
But 250 a square foot. Yeah.
But you know, the answer is collaboration. It's like these bees you got up on the wall right there. And so money would accelerate that versus us creating an organic incentive for everybody to then form a colony and work together. You know what I mean? With no money involved. But
yeah.
that what was it?
Go ahead. Cat Williams is doing it in Alabama.
Yep.
Mark Wahlberg is doing it in Vegas.
Yeah, Tyler Perry
is going to do it in Tyler Perry.
Well, I was going to say, so
who's going to do it here?
So I think Cat is from where he's doing it, right?
He's from Ohio.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's doing it because he bought an old military base in Alabama, and he's turning it into a
so it doesn't necessarily, okay, so I was thinking, like, who is the legacy Kansas City people that need to be doing it? But that doesn't necessarily need to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, you just need to build it, and they will come. Yeah.
Yeah, once, like I mentioned earlier, that parable of the cave, you know, once you actually grab everybody and point them towards the mouth of the cave and they see something else, then they're all going to go at it, you know what I mean? Everybody's just too busy looking at the cave wall just because that's the safest thing that they've known.
And I'm hyper focused on why we're doing this, maybe to the point of our own detriment. Maybe I need to go around and talk about a building.
Or some fried chicken.
Or some chicken.
See?
Well, so let's dig into that one a little bit though. Like, so is it the messaging? Is it the messenger? What is it then? Why are we staring at the cave wall here?
Kansas City is risk adverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't take risks in this city.
But
we all know this.
I hear you, and this idea of this being a risk-averse city, I understand, but you can't tell me that people in Shreveport, Louisiana are, you know, out there, you know, buying more lotto tickets than we are.
But that's the difference. Somebody with money came in and accelerated it. So that's what money could do. Money could accelerate that process. Money could put everybody in a stroller and face them towards the mouth of the cave and change the paradigm shift. You know what I mean? That's what it could do. So, you know, if we had $5-10 million and we got, you know, Janelle Monáe and
Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd
to cameo in a movie, and then we had the movie was going to be about superheroes and their superpowers is manifested by their art. So that would allow us to bring in artists from every demographic in the city, bring the entire community together, also bring in all these nonprofits in here to provide social services to these people while they're going through the film development process. And then you have all these people go through an artistic journey with each other, which builds that relationship. And then at the end, you have a product, which I call a digital monument, that's long-standing, and it serves as a reminder of the community's ability to work together You put a huge screen out there in front of Union Station, the whole city come and watch it. Then you sell it to Netflix for 20 million, and you come back with that 20 million and make strategic investments back into the city. And our tax dollars would give us 42% of the money back that we would then be giving back to the community. So I call it a community wellness ecosystem.
You know what? You see Kansas City represented in movies or in TV shows. You know, these streaming series that have been out there, and I'm tired of seeing Kansas City depicted as a post-apocalyptic. You know, like it always looks like, oh, I wouldn't want to live there. It looks like there's nothing but zombies there. You know, Oklahoma City. I mean, it's
Yeah, no, I know exactly what
there's
you're talking about.
more than two.
It's an
of
HBO
these-
show.
Yeah, well, there's more than
Last
two
of
of
Us.
shows that have portrayed
Yeah.
Kansas City that way, in some way, shape, or form. Oklahoma City, like look what Oklahoma City has done.
Arkansas.
And it's insane to me. I mean, you can list off the shows that have been produced in Oklahoma City, and each one of them portrays Oklahoma. I mean, I've been there recently. It's not like they portrayed it. I mean, it is. It isn't. And I don't mean that as I do mean that as a shot at Oklahoma City. I'm just surprised that we haven't, like, when you look at Oklahoma City is 1 million less people than Kansas City. And you look at Kansas City and the resources, the assets, the quality of life, the things we have here. Are we just selling to this idea to the wrong people? Like, why would we sell this to politicians and sell this to, the rich people instead of, or do we need to go find that champion?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
the champion is necessary, and we're seeing it now. But I still believe that our biggest roadblock is our own approach methodology, and where our intentions are rooted, which is unique in the film industry.
Okay, say more.
Our approach to the community and getting the film made, our intentional approach that's rooted in asset-based community development. That is why we're doing what we're doing.
And is that not attractive to those with money? Is that the problem?
Well, that's the problem. What he's saying is that the reason we're doing this is not to make money.
Right.
And that's the problem. If we would just get selfish and get ice-chested, we'd be paid up in here. We'd be paid. I get up here and tap dance, put on a show, get some grant money, and we'd be paid.
Shark, snake, and weasel, I would definitely go shark.
Okay. How do you do both? Can you do both? Can you have the methodology of how you make the movie,
Nope.
but go make one for the production value of monetization?
There's no way, because you know what, man? When I moved here from LA, I came here because my mom and my sisters live here. My sister, one of them, was found in a ditch off 71, barely alive. And my other sister got shot through her ear. And I'm telling you, man, there is no amount of money that's going to bring them back had I lost them, right? So I moved from LA back here to change the community that my family lives in, doing what I know how to do.
Same here. I was in China on a train from Beijing to Dandong, which is like the last city on the border of China and North Korea, when Michael Brown got killed. And Michael Brown is my cousin. So I got added to a family member Facebook page. And, that's how I found out. So here I am on the border of China and North Korea doing all this work, and I'm not doing it at home. So the reason it can't work is because a lot of the money that we would make from doing these kinds of projects, we would give it away. It would have to go back into the community. And that's just not an ROI. That's the opposite of ROI. That's called giveaway. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's called philanthropy.
Yeah. Right. And so, and on top of that, we're talking about filmmaking, which is a lot of people, everybody watches movies, but nobody knows how it's done. So when we come in there and talk about how you can do it, it's, we might as well be speaking beep, beep alien language to them. They just can't compute it. They can't understand, how it's actually done.
Guys, I know we got a hard stop tonight on this conversation, but I want to give you guys an opportunity. Is there anything that we've talked about or haven't covered or talked about that you guys want to make sure that we hit on?
We have a movie coming out January 18th on Lifetime.
Fantastic. Yeah, Girl in the Garage. Right?
Produced by Khalid and Corey.
Yeah. So you can see.
And other folks in here that have participated too. Those two guys, those two over there, couldn't have done it without them.
January 18th?
January 18th.
January 18th on Lifetime.
Yep. And you can see
7 p.m. Thank you, son.
some of our the Girl in the Garage. We'll write it down for you.
Girl in the Garage. Girl in the Garage.
Yeah. So we got that going.
So I'm curious, like, how does that happen? How do you guys get a Lifetime movie?
Because they saw how dope we were.
I believe that.
They did. They saw some of our previous work, and they believed that we were capable of shooting a movie here in Kansas City, while a lot of people think that we don't have the infrastructure to do it. But they came here with $1.6 million, and we shot a movie.
Was this after Miami?
Yes.
Was Miami part of what?
No. We had the relationship before that.
Okay.
No, did we finish it after Miami?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't know if Miami had any
no,
bearing on them. Like,
No, it had no bearing on it.
No, Miami was cool too, though.
But I will say, there's one example of some community impact, not to put him on the spot, but Dominique.
Dominique, we'll get you a stand up, brother.
Yeah,
come
man.
on, stand up.
Hey, so we did a superhero project called Sapiens. Dominique showed up as a background actor. And a couple years later, he's on our set and he's telling me that he went to school for cinematography. And then 2 years after that, he has a Bachelor of Science in cinematography. And
Yeah. And then he came back and worked on our Lifetime film. So there's our workforce development right there. Workforce development, education, et cetera, et cetera. We checked all the boxes. We did all of that. And, and we're still outside funded or independent.
that won't last. You guys, I mean, I love watching the progress that you guys are making, and I know it doesn't happen as fast as any of us want our progress to be. I can relate to that. But you guys are going to get there. I have nothing but confidence that you guys are going to.
we're there, right?
We're kind of there. Yeah, we're in the league.
But you said
we're the Raiders.
but you
We're
said
with the Raiders.
But you
Yeah.
said, all right.
But we're still in the
But,
NFL.
we're in the NFL now.
Yeah. Now,
Terrible reference.
the best thing about
Terrible reference. Terrible.
I know, right? Like we
Edit
don't want
that
to be
shit
with the Raiders.
straight out of
Can we
this
go with
podcast.
The Chiefs, please.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Chiefs ain't supporting, are they? You know
No,
what I'm
they
saying?
ain't.
The Raiders is coming with the Raiders.
Hallmark
the
bringing them
Chargers.
from
Nah, I'm
out of
just
town.
playing. All right. No,
But you know what's the best thing about our situation though? Is we did turn pro with this Lifetime movie, right? And we don't owe nobody nothing.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Don't owe nobody nothing. So I feel great about that. I sleep like a baby.
Well, I know I'm gonna ride with Corey on this one. The one you're most proud of is the next one, right? The one. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next one, not just on January 18th, but the next one after that, and the next one after that. And I feel honored to know you guys, and I'm glad that you guys. Thanks for coming up here and talking with me for a while. And when you guys are on the big screen with all the big credits and stuff, don't forget the little people. Come back and talk to us.
Well, we
right?
do got to say that Kevin and Keystone are the only people who actually did support us.
And the My Sharia Moore movie wouldn't have happened without the generous Kevin and Keystone and Social Venture Studio, because
That's the support we did receive. So we do got to say that.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, man. So
You say he's our white dad? That's our white dad.
I already got one of those.
all right, fellas.
Put that on the website. Though.
Yeah. White Dad of AGA Productions. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for doing it here. Thank you for your commitment to making this community a better place. And I hope that no matter what, that you guys continue to do that, because that is important to all of us. And I hope and I know at some point more people will appreciate that. And we're going to make sure you guys get the funding you need to build whatever infrastructure, whatever legacy we need to do here in Kansas City to make your impact felt. So thank you very much for what you guys are doing. Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to the Disruption Lab podcast, brought to you by the Keystone Innovation District and recorded live at Keystone Sessions. I am your host, Kevin McGinnis, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to tune in next Thursday for more insights from entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry disruptors. Until then, Keep challenging the norm and making waves.